to the Ashleyverse chat.
Well, good, because we are now live. Hello, everybody. This week,
Hi.
I'm going to yell about apps. And Steve has nothing to talk about, so this is what you're getting. This is the kind of episode we have today.
Not technically right, but it's true. Owl above city lights, good to see you. No, okay. I have no notes that are immediately important to me. They're all backup shit. Ashley, go.
So I was going to talk about this next week when I have more of a foundation for it, but it's important to what I'm talking about. Because I'm moving houses and I'm going to want smart home devices in that house that everybody can use. Not everybody has an iPhone. So to make that easier, I am getting a new Pixel phone to use for like home automation and setup and everything like that. And I then wanted to kind of separate iPhone into work and Android into play kind of
I know
feeling.
people do that. Yeah.
And so I have a Pixel right now. It's old. It's about to be dropped from support. That's why I'm getting the new one. But I started setting up the home screen how I want. So when I get my new one, it should come in tomorrow. I can just transfer everything and it'll be set up. Android has a problem.
Oh no.
Android has a big problem, in my opinion. One of my favorite things on my home screen is a widget for my calendar on iOS. And the calendar widget is going to be very important to me once I get into like the entire house calendar, so I can know what's going on at a glance. Sadly, all of Android's calendar apps have shit widgets. And it is unacceptable to me that they have such shit widgets.
Can I pause you for a sec? Is this one of those circumstances where it's like where it's like, oh no, this would serve a lot of people, but you just have totally fine, but very high standards? Or is it like you actually think they literally do not function?
I'm going to Google Reddit best calendar widgets Android, and I'm going to give you what I keep seeing. And I've gone through. This is funny. I downloaded a lot of the calendar apps so I could look at their widgets on my home screen. I haven't uninstalled them, so when it came time for the show, I got like 5 different notifications. But let me try to send pictures of these fucking widgets that I keep seeing suggested over and over and over. I'm going to send these in the Discord.
Ashleyverse. This is Ashley.gay.
Let me see. So here's one I keep seeing that looks garbage, in my opinion. It looks old as fuck. That's not modern.
Old, absolutely. I don't think that necessarily means bad, but I do agree old. This looks like
I'm going to get my Fantastical widget screenshotted here in a second.
I want to say if you like cut out the bottom third of that image, then it looks like it's from like I don't know if it's like the first Android phones, but like the ones where like Android was first becoming popular.
Yeah, really.
And it still had the physical buttons at the bottom. You don't have gesture controls on here, or did you get this screenshot from someone else?
This is on the website for this app. This
Weird.
Is my
they
iPhone
don't use
home
gesture.
Screen.
Wow.
So that's the widget I love. The widget I wish was on Android. Fantastical. Look at that. It's beautiful. It has so much information while also not being overwhelming. It's wonderful. No other widget looks like this on Android. I'm gonna try to find some more.
This is also a lot of space and information dedicated to a widget of a calendar. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's fantastic, but I am saying this is definitely not. Okay.
Yeah. But I like this one because one, it gives me the today's date, which is important to me a lot of the time because I work in a job where dates matter very heavily for prescriptions. Then it gives me like
Oh
the
yeah.
the high and low and projected weather for the day. And I can click on any one of the days in the widget to go to it within the widget to see, oh wait, what is that day? It has like a bunch of little dots on it. What all am I doing that day? And I never have to like open the app unless I want to like really add in a new event or, you know, customize something. Absolutely love that. Let me try to
This means that this developer should be also aiming for Android, and they can suck it if they don't want to do that. Also, I want to real quick ask Owl, Steve, is it fantastical? I don't understand what you mean by that. I don't know if you're referencing fantastic. Can we have a moment of silence for just one of the dumbest moments I think I've ever had on this show, where you have said this name maybe 4 times. I just because you didn't have the little capital C, you also didn't have a capital F. You can see where I went with that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I don't think enough. Okay, I'm not a dev, so I don't know what the obstacles are, but I do find myself getting constantly frustrated with people going, "Oh, I guess you need an Android version." I'm like, I would think it's a little easier. Maybe it's not.
So here's another one. This is AnyDo. So like one of the premier like calendar to-do tracking apps. On the left is the only dark mode version of that widget, which is see-through, which I don't like. And then the one on the right, that is maybe the perfect widget for me on Android because there isn't Fantastical on Android. That would be perfect. But in terms of Android, it would be perfect if it had a dark mode.
Ooh, yeah. I wonder.
Let me see.
I want to say that
some that are launcher specific. Apparently, Niagara has a really nice calendar widget, but I'm not using Niagara launcher.
I'm not suggesting Niagara specifically, but you guys know I've been using Nova Launcher forever on my phone at this point, and I wonder if it would be different there because I love my widgets on Nova Launcher. I have plenty. You use Nova Launcher, okay? I use Nova Launcher. Yeah, and I'm also someone who appreciates, to varying degrees depending on the application. I do like a little transparency in the UI of things like this. I like a little glassy see-throughness, but like not to where I can't fucking read it.
Yeah, no, I
you can emulate the Apple OS.
Wait, let me.
On Android? What?
Just emulate the.
Also, then what's the utility of using Android?
It doesn't work. Ever since emulating Apple technology, infinitely harder, nigh impossible once they swap to making their own chips. Things really only like running on their architecture now.
Fuck you, Apple.
Which, to be fair, though, architecture things aren't meant for isn't uncommon in non-Apple spaces.
Sure. But I'm also going to go for any chance to go, hey, Apple, this makes it harder for the consumer. Fuck you. And I'm gonna stick with that.
It does not work anymore because the like chip architecture is just different, I believe. I mean, I'm not sure. Bullshit. I'm not as into all of that shit. So
Apple has the money to where they could make it. With all the money and resources Apple has, I am not convinced that it wasn't just an active decision to make it harder to do that. I think that they have the money and resources and time to make, you know, this kind of architecture, but more open to experimentation like this. And I do not think it would hurt their company notably. But I'm also not an expert.
Sent that to you. Wait, let me put that in
a very subjective perspective.
So another one that keeps getting mentioned is Business Calendar 2. Its widget also looks like shit to me. Event Flow Calendar as well always keeps getting recommended in these Reddit posts. I think it also, why does everything need to be fucking see-through in the worst, most ugly ways?
I
Okay,
don't
but
think we're
like
gonna see eye to eye on that one. I like seeing your point, but I don't think we're gonna
here's the
meet
thing.
here.
If I want to have it just be a black background, should I not be able to have that? Should that not be one of the default settings for these things?
You should have that option very easily. I agree with that part. Yes.
It's insane to me that, like, okay, fair. On Apple's stuff, they don't usually give you see-through options for your widgets. One, because I think it looks like garbage, and two,
Wow.
it just doesn't happen. But like, they have the default of white and black backgrounds, like everything else. No, here's the thing about making a custom widget. That is too much effort to do that, because there's I have looked into this.
Okay.
So KWGT, it is a custom widget maker. And there's a pack that I bought. Bullshit that I had to buy this, but I bought a pack that is a bunch of custom widgets somebody else made that looks like Apple's widgets. They don't end up working to sync my calendar. I don't know what their fucking problem is, but they just don't work. And here, I don't want to put it on my phone again. Let me just see. Google Calendar widget. So like, this is the basic widget Google gives you with the Google Calendar. Let me see if I can find it.
Also, I think this might be I think this might be the peak of the most autistic problem we've had on the Thought Bubble.
Well, the calendar is a very important part of building.
We're being
this
very
house
particular
out.
about it. I'm just saying.
I
that,
don't
like,
think I am. I think all of these look like garbage on most phones.
And I disagree.
And
I think that they look.
I
don't think they
their
look beautiful.
utility is less than Fantastical.
Okay,
their
less than
beauty is
Fantastical,
far behind Fantastical.
Yes.
Why can't I just fucking have something that looks? It doesn't need to copy Fantastical, but it's insane to me that there's nothing even close.
Why do you not like transparency? I'm kind of hooked on that.
It looks like garbage. I don't know how better to explain it, but it looks like garbage.
Okay. Okay. To me, when something has like a bit of transparency there, and it should be different levels of transparency depending on what, because it can interfere with readability. Like on something like this, it could be like a little less transparent. On the 7 unique widgets screenshot, I was still on that. That could be a little more opaque, but still, seeing the background through it. I think it makes it feel a little bit like glass, like they used to want to make apps look like back in like Windows 7 widgets and shit like that. And I think it brings like a tangibility to it, to where it almost feels like a physical thing, but also on like a futuristic kind of like fucking glass wall of like utilities. It's hard to explain. But yeah, I think transparency has, I think it has plenty of beauty in that, though I can see how, because it's always going to be a compromise in usability. You just got to minimize that as much as possible. But yeah, because I personally think that full opacity widgets kind of just look like, oh, anything could be there. Whereas that's just me. With transparency, it's like, oh, this is a thing that like I'm seeing the environment of the things around it through it. This is a thing that's supposed to be here. It is designed to be here. It's not something where I could just cut out a screenshot and anything would look right there. It's like this was intended to be here. It's part of the experience. That's how I feel about it.
No, I think it's the exact opposite for me. I think you could put the transparent one on anything and it's like, oh yeah, because it's not obscuring your fucking home screen. Which also, I have a problem with a lot of the background images that the pictures are using for their phones. I think it's insane.
I don't think they're very good. The flower one's nice. Yeah.
But like, just taking the white and black phone one, where there's like the black transparency on the left and the white opaque on the right. Well, the one on the right is iPhone, and so whatever. I think it looks like it belongs there better because it looks more cohesive with everything else on the screen. But you have this transparent to-do list on the Android, and it just kind of looks like you plastered it on top of whatever you're already doing. It doesn't look cohesive with the rest of the design language.
Full transparency and pun intended on that. I will say on my home screen, outside of like what's effectively the taskbar, which is my bottom 5 apps on my home screen, everything else is either an app folder or a widget. And so with the app folders, I have transparency in like the background of those, and so it's like what the apps are already contained within just below the widgets is a transparent little encasement where you can see the background behind it. It feels like it's part of the environment, and then the widgets kind of just follow in that. The exception to that is if there is an app that has floating elements that are off of a background, like for instance the How We Feel app. I think that's a pretty good one. If you want to check it out, it's a good mental health app. That one's just like essentially a plus sign on a dot and with like a colored ring around it. And I'm like, I think transparency would only hinder how this looks because it's already pretty thin. It's unobtrusive. The background itself is already essentially completely transparent. But yeah, it's like I don't hate opaque widgets. There are widgets I have here like for Habitica and things like that I think, that either didn't look very good with transparency or they didn't have the option. It's just that I don't know. Yeah, it feels like it's more like I can hold it. It's a thing that's part of this that I'm like looking through to see. By the way, home background that I enjoyed picking. I think I have a quite pretty one. And so also, Owl, just to get to this comment, my pronouns are any. I am gender fluid, but I appreciate the question. But yeah. So it's like I just get to see more of my home screen. It looks like everything's part of the same environment and a little more physical. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I cannot get behind transparency. I'd rather there be nothing than a transparent layer. Like a
what do you mean
slightly opacity. So I'd rather it just be like just the lettering if it was going to be see-through. I'd rather it be fully out. Like a little bit of transparency just feels like, ugh, what the fuck? Why is that there? Where it could just be nothing. Also,
yeah,
a note I wanted to make with the Google
saying.
Calendar widgets, which I think are the nicest of the widgets that I've seen so far. One, they don't look as good in dark mode. I didn't have a dark mode picture, but they don't look as good. And they take up a little bit too much space to get all the information I want at a glance.
Okay.
Because right now, and I put in a new photo of Fantastical, but it's only a little bit, the like smaller version of the widget.
Does your thumb reach all that?
What, on the very
like that last screenshot, it's like it feels like everything but the lightning bolt and Discord and Spotify are like
that was just me squishing it. I would not normally have my apps up that high. That was just to show the widget in its 2-tile mode.
What is this function for? Like what is putting the home screen like this for?
No, just look at the widget. That bottom one is just to show the widget.
Okay,
that is not how I have my home screen.
I understand that. I'm just wondering what the function, if this is a thing you can do with the phone, why is I guess what I'm asking. Like, I'm not angry at it. I'm confused.
What do you mean by putting the icons up there?
Like, if squeezing it does this, I don't understand that.
You can put the icons back where you want. It just brought it up because it was like the bottom of the screen gets like everything got pushed up.
I think I'm not going to be able to convey the kind of question I'm trying to ask.
I don't know
so
what the fuck you're asking me.
Yeah, I don't know how to better word it, so we're just going to have to move on. I'm not super upset about this. I was just a little confused. That's it.
But yeah, so that's the Fantastical widget when it's just 2, which is like a good amount of information, and then I can also just tap on the days if I really need to. But like, as you can see in the Google Calendar, like smaller widget, it's only going to show you like a day, like 1 event, 2 events maybe, and it's just, and like it's not even telling you other information like the rest of the month. It's just telling you 2 events, which I don't like. I like having more information.
Yeah.
And especially in like my full Fantastical widget, which is where it's normally at, I get all of that and more, like the weather. I see stuff for tomorrow. Gotta go have lunch. Okay, have fun at lunch.
Good to see him.
And also, just the design language is very nice. It is unobtrusive, while also being kind of like, I think it's a little stylish. It's kind of, you know. Whereas, like, all of these widgets that I've shown you is like, these are the big widgets that everyone's talking about being good on Android for calendar.
I also don't keep a calendar app on my home screen. I'm gonna be I like if I'm going to my calendar, I open it up. So it's like I want to say that in terms of having a horse in this race, like this is more where I like have some little tidbits, but I for the most part stand back and let you vent, because like the way that calendars work best in my life is just like when I want to see it, go into it and go into the app itself. But if I'm in my home screen, that's not the kind of information that I'm looking for. And so, you know, I'm more deferring to you in terms of what works best at a glance.
Yeah, it's just like some of these would be good. If they were just like designed a little bit differently, not designed like they were 10, 15 years old at this point. And it's so frustrating because not only is it's not just Fantastical that's really good on iPhone. There's like multiple options on iPhone. I just landed on Fantastical as the best.
Another thing I just noticed, by the way, and it's not related to the phones or the widget, but I swear on everything that Discord did not always have this. I have been on Discord since 2016. Good God, I've been on Discord 9 years. Anyway, I just clicked into the image to focus on it, and then I clicked again, and it zoomed in, and I can scroll the image with my scroll wheel.
Yeah, no, this is all new because it used to just be you would pull up the image and say open in browser, but no, they have zoom in, forward, save image, open in browser, copy.
Yeah, oh
copy
God,
link,
fuck, they
view
do
details.
have that.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
they
great.
updated.
When did this happen?
That has to be so recent.
That has to be like I could not. You could not convince me this is older than like a couple months. Like I'm like I feel like I've seen images and not seen it like this before. This is great, by the way. I'm loving this. This is perfect. This is great. Though I do wish that if I, just as a brief tidbit, I wish that if I clicked on a specific part, like on the like Windows has this with their focus in image viewers. We all don't like Microsoft, but that is a benefit that they have. If no matter where I click, it just focuses on the middle and I can scroll up and down. I don't know if it was a super wide image, how I would navigate that instead of a tall one, because, you know, scroll wheels go up and down, of course. But yeah, no, I just wanted to give some appreciation to that Discord feature. That's really good shit. But yeah, no, you are making some really good points about Fantastical, and I have effectively no other input on it, just because I like hearing what you like about it, and if I ever did have an iPhone, sorry, if I ever did have an iPhone, then I would absolutely install it, though. Yeah, so, and in terms of your viewpoint, one last little piece about having, well, the way you put it was Android for play and iPhone for work. I know a lot of people who do that. Yeah, where they're like, I don't like having an iPhone in my pocket and having to use it, but my work is like it's the only thing that works with my, you know, work systems or whatever. And so then for the rest of my everyday life, Android all the way. Or if I need to interact with work, you know, from outside of it, then I use the iPhone. But yeah, like I've seen that a few times. I don't think that's out of the ordinary.
I think it's going to end up being. See, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to play around with the new Pixel. I don't know what else changed since I last used a Pixel, let alone an Android.
I'm a big OnePlus guy personally,
but see, I probably would have gone with it either like a non-Pixel and non-Samsung, but like I'm getting it through a phone plan, so
sure.
I'm only paying like $30 a month for like the brand new Pixel. Sure. Not bad at all. So
yeah.
Because I have two phone carriers, so I have Boost Mobile, or Boost, it's Boost something, for my iPhone, and I have Google Fi for my Android now. I'm not sure how much I don't want to use its data. I have like, it's a weird plan. I don't really like Google Fi. Wouldn't suggest it, but it's what I have. Where was I going with this? So I don't know exactly where I'm going to land on using iPhone versus using Android. There's certain things about Androids that I think are nice compared to iPhone, but you remember one of the things I said when I left Android for iPhone was the restriction for customizing is actually a plus for iPhones for me, because I spend way too much time customizing and trying to get it perfect where there is no perfection to be had.
I'm the person who spent like an hour customizing Vivaldi to the way I like it, just so I'd never have to touch it again. Like that.
The thing is,
so
with
I completely
my Androids,
understand.
like things change pretty frequently for me on my phones. I like swapping like things out and changing it a little bit. I mean, my new iPhone layout is different from how it was a couple months ago. The thing is, when I change things on the iPhone, it's probably 30-ish minutes, if that, 15, 20 even. And then I'm done with my home screen setup, because that's how it is. Android, however, way too many options to get it perfect, when good enough could suffice. But given the option, I'm going to go for it. And I spend way too much time and then end up being like, I don't actually really like this because it could be better. Whereas every
this
time
sounds like you're making a you
iPhone,
problem into an Android problem. Like, and
no,
like
it is an
I
Android
understand
problem.
Because I understand that there's like there are plenty of features that the iPhone has that theoretically Android should anyway, just because it is the more customizable one. I completely agree with that. If I wanted to make my
It's crazy
phone
how this is the most customizable one, and they have shit widgets.
In your opinion, I still love mine, but
almost every widget looks like shit compared to iPhones.
You've shown me 1,000 screenshots of home screens with widgets, and I don't think they look bad at all, but they certainly don't look for me. But yeah, it's like I can see how if someone like, I think, and this is actually going to go into a point that I just thought of a few minutes ago, but I'm going to start with this one. I think that there should be like a cohesive way to make Android with all of its options feel in flow and usability literally exactly like Apple. And what I mean by that is like basically fully emulating the design language of it in like some third party sort of thing. Someone's probably done it that I just don't fucking know about because I haven't bothered to look. But this goes into my next point of back in the day, my sister had a MacBook Pro. This was over 10 years ago easily. Maybe over 15 years ago. Anyway, but my sister had when did it come out? Anyway, my sister had a MacBook Pro with dual boot Windows and Mac. I think she got it for college or something. And I don't know if MacBooks do that anymore. I don't. But I think it would be almost a tragedy of technology not to even have this option for phones to be able to boot between the two systems. Because I do think, like I've said before, I think that there are beautiful things about iOS, but it's not even close to enough to like equal the satisfaction of what I'd be sacrificing from Android. But it's also, those things are nice, and for you there's things that are tremendously important in iOS. You're not even the only person where it's like, oh, there's lots of cool Android shit, but there's these glaring holes for some reason. Who knows why they're there, but it'd be so great if like as fast as a phone could reboot, you could like maybe hold down the power button or something and go into a different operating system. These phones are getting bigger capacity in terms of the storage inside. These phones are getting better and better processing power by the year, to where like I think literally the only thing keeping it from being reasonable to have dual boot on a phone is that like, oh, the average person is just going to hold them back, take a slightly more time to get to the phone that the phone interface that they like, and it's going to be too much for a lot of people because just that little tiny hurdle of inconvenience is too much. And that's not even me being facetious or condescending. I'm like, this is just, people want it to be easy because this is supposed to be the easy thing. But the fact that you can't even fucking toggle it, like if I have to dive into the swimming pool of settings, and it's like not backed in a corner, but it's not on Front Street, and I just like can choose dual boot and set that up with reasonable efficiency, I think that's the perfectly appropriate place to put that kind of option, not as default, but as just a thing you can spring for if that is something with utility for you. And I think that would not be a small subset of users, and I would be extremely one of those users. I don't think I'd use the iOS part all the time, but like I'd have use for it. Like for instance, if I fucking picked up an Apple Pencil and I got to use Procreate features and choose between that or Infinite Paint, which I've been using on Android, or if I, wanted to use any number of other iOS features I haven't explored that I don't even know that I would like, and not have to completely sacrifice the Android experience, including the obstacle of having to have two different phones on you with that expense, also with that inconvenience, just having it in one device. I would love that, and I want that. Please, please, please. That's my whole soapbox for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they haven't done that. I mean, I don't even know. The more I dive back into Android, the more I just want to say I want it to be an iPhone. Even with Nova Launcher, which I've used Nova Launcher for fucking ever. I mean, I was Android for so fucking long. I don't think the widgets look as nice. And so like going from something that looks fucking amazing to something that looks kind of like meh, it's like, yeah, this is usable, but it's made so much worse by the possibilities that could be there. I'm sad that there is no like really good RSS reader in my opinion, where I have my perfect version of an RSS reader on iPhone, REEDER reader. It's $1 a month for the pro version. I don't even remember what the difference is because it's like, oh yeah, $1, take my fucking money because it's a good app.
Well, I just realized, hold on, sorry, because I know that there's like features, because I've completely switched everything to Vivaldi in terms of like, because I use Vivaldi for RSS on my computer, and I'm wondering if that, because it doesn't have every feature, but most of them on the mobile version, and I'm trying to look right now. Sorry, continue. It's just, this is a quick tidbit. I want to see if it actually has the RSS feeds in the mobile version. I don't know if it does.
I can load it up.
Oh shit, I don't think it does. That's really unfortunate.
I mean,
but it does have stacked tabs.
I'd rather have a specific RSS reader app. And the thing I really like about Reader is that it remembers where you left off, which is somehow not a feature in any other RSS feed reader.
Bullshit.
Fucking ridiculous. How is this not a basic function of,
I would call that,
all of the apps?
Yeah. As important to RSS feeds and similar features, I think, as having your fucking battery percentage on your phone. I think, like, if you want RSS feeds, that's base bare bones.
It needs to remember where the fuck you left off, but none of them do, except for Reader. And Reader not only remembers where you've left off, because it's highly integrated with the Apple ecosystem, it remembers it and sends it to your iPad or any other device, and it'll update where you are on that device. So when you go to open it, you're not where you were when you left the iPad, you're where you were when you left your phone. I think that's great. Yeah. And I do not know how this isn't a standard feature on anything else, because it's not that you need an Apple ecosystem to be able to do that.
Right.
So why the fuck is that not a thing? And this is where I say, like, tiny things make a huge difference, because that's a tiny thing in retro, in like the grand scheme of things, that's whatever. But this is a bunch of tiny things Like, yeah, a very nice looking calendar widget is a tiny thing. I actually don't think it's a tiny thing. You look at your home screen all the fucking time. It should look nice.
Mhm.
And but in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's a tiny thing, whatever. And all of the widgets kind of looking like they belong together, which isn't really a thing on Android. On iOS, it's nice. Little thing makes my life a little bit better. The Reader app being as good as it is at keeping where you were and putting you back where you were reading last, so you're not missing anything. Tiny thing, but it makes a huge difference in my usability of the Reader app. Also, the fact that it's $1 a month for whatever premium benefits, I don't remember what it is, but the RSS reader I've landed on for Android, INO reader, I don't know how you say it. Let me see, what's its premium? $10 a month.
Fuck,
If you're
no.
10 times as expensive, you better suck my dick. Like,
Shut the fuck up for $10 a month.
You
for
have
RSS
$10
feed.
a month and you don't remember where I left off.
Like, and I know I keep bringing this up again, and I understand it's getting annoying, but Vivaldi offers all of this on the desktop version, and if I could just go to my computer and have the same exact experience that we're talking about as like a beautiful thing for free over, like, if I just go to this other device, no. I'm sorry, I'm not. There's no way that I would pay. You need to have shit on top of it that makes it worth it for anywhere near that kind of money. I don't even understand how you'd make RSS feeds worth $10 a month unless it was like part of your active career, in which case your employer should be paying for it. Like, and maybe that's what it's intended
Here
for.
are the
But no,
selling
fuck you.
points for INO Reader, for their pro version. INO Reader Intelligence, so some AI bullshit that RSS feeds don't need. You can have up to 2,500 feeds. Who the fuck is using that many? Anyway, you can have offline mode for certain folders of feeds. Powerful automation. Why are we automating RSS feeds? Content filters. Remove identical content with duplicate filters. You can put Blue Sky feeds into the app. You can put Telegram feeds, Facebook page, newsletters.
Are those not a thing you could achieve for free in other RSS feeds?
I think you could.
Okay.
You can. They lock text to speech, so you can listen to your feeds behind $10 a month.
Jesus, that's ableist, actually.
Put annotations in feeds for $10 a month. Automatic translations.
You cannot put accessibility features behind a paywall when, like, no, that's not fair. If other things aren't behind a paywall, if the whole thing was
sort by magic. Don't know what the fuck that means. Isn't the point of RSS feeds that you get it in fucking order?
It's bullshit.
God. Absolute horseshit. I'm probably going to end up looking at more RSS feed apps. None of them look as nice as Reader. None of them act as nice as Reader. It's really fucking annoying. And I hate that I'm kind of becoming this like iPhone evangelist of like, oh, everything's better on iPhone. But like the very few specific apps that I use daily tend to just run better and look better on iPhone, and it's really fucking annoying.
Yeah, I can see that, because like I feel like I'm trying to get a better gander for your specific taste, and I can see how it would make any other way of it being completely alien. And I'm not saying that as any criticism. It's like that's I am just. There was a metaphor that I was going to use for this. I don't know that I want to bring into this episode, but I do think that how appealing Apple's interfaces are is largely a failure of Android in all its customizability, as you complained about earlier, to match that if someone wants it. I think that every app should have here's the way that it is on Apple. I think that, and frankly, I think the entire concept of, I think that like the Apple ecosystem might be harder to get into. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass on that one. But ideally, like, there's no app that's on Android that is not also on Apple, and vice versa, especially if it has more than, I don't know, 1,000 users. You know, if it's just like a small little tiny app, like I have a fucking Doctor Who soundboard app on my phone. That one doesn't need to, there's probably one just like it on iPhone. But every app of tangible usability that thousands of people say, yes, this is useful to me, you need to put in the effort to have it cross-compatible. You need to give the features as much as you reasonably can one-to-one compatibility with each other. It is patently unreasonable otherwise.
And like, I can understand why someone would choose one ecosystem over the other to develop for, because developing for Apple is a little bit more expensive to do. They charge more.
Yeah.
Which is fair. That's completely fair enough. And I can understand why people who started developing on the Apple ecosystem don't want to switch over to Android, because Apple, you have 2 screen sizes to account for.
Right.
You have you have one operating system if you don't want to make an iPad version. You have one to deal with, whereas you have to make things fit into Samsung's One UI. You have to make it into the Pixel look, into OnePlus. You have to do all of these different things for all of the different Android phones. You have to make it work on years worth of phones.
And yet somehow Android devs manage. Yeah, no, it is a lot though.
Yeah, but if you're used to just being like, I don't want to go through all of that, it's a lot of bullshit that I don't want to do when I'm already on iPhone having a great time. I can see why a developer doesn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Though I just realized I think this would be a problem that would then come over to iOS if the aforementioned dual boot was in place, because like, is this that dual boot just happens on Apple devices to where you can have Android on there, or is it that you have a device that maybe you like physically better than an iPhone, but it has iOS on it, but now iOS has to be compatible? So that is one hurdle there. Most of the points I'm making are idealistic. They're just ideas to not forget about in the conversation of practicality, because we need to keep in mind, yeah,
iOS as it is now onto any Android phone, just pick a random one, is going to be a lot harder than putting Android onto an iPhone. Mm-hmm. For the main thing of iPhone has a lot of like very specific to it, like physical features to it, like a lot of their like close compatibility to other iPhone users. You can interact with them just by being close to them because it has specific sensors. There's just a lot of weird specific things about iPhone that I would assume it's checking for in its OS to be like, hey, I want to be able to do this. There'd be some features that aren't going to be there. And I think Apple's very against being like, hey, we're just, well, maybe not with the iPhone 16e. Maybe that's changed now. But they kind of like having like an experience for iPhone. If you get an iPhone, you're going to have generally the same experience as a different iPhone. Which is just not true for Android at all.
I think what you could do for that, because I think to an extent, I think that such a universal experience is a slight bit overrated. But I want to say that I think for someone who's going to go through the trouble of dual booting, because I already said that it wouldn't be a feature that everybody would use, I don't think. Even like, I just don't think there's a way to make it as cohesive as one operating system, and most people are just going to want that. But there will still be many thousands of people who would like to dual boot it. I think for that kind of person who's even going to do it, you can put in features to emulate the physical stuff, like in a, like, you know, the what's the camera button called? You know what I'm talking about, the slider on the side of it, things like that. The action button, thank you. So like just putting something in the settings to like emulate that on your screen, not a perfect solution, but it's a solution. Also, this is an argument for like generally not too many, but more hotkeys on phones. should just be a thing. Should
Yeah,
just
they
be a
also Apple's privacy centric kind of look. They would have to then match it on a thing they didn't make themselves, which I think they would be fairly hesitant to put iOS on an Android phone that's much more likely to have some kind of workaround to get into the iOS portion. To hack into that, I can see why they don't do it.
I can see it. I just don't
I can
agree
see
with it.
They have a specific
Yeah.
image they want to use for their phones. I think that's fine. Especially when it looks leaps and bounds better than a lot of Android shit now. It's really fucking. I'm going to be hung up on it for as long as I'm using these phones. Because it is insane to me that there isn't anywhere near an equivalent to the calendar widget. That's going to hang up on me for fucking ever. And of course, since Fantastico, it doesn't have a widget on Android, it doesn't have an app. So I have to like now find a different calendar app to use. Which is one of my topics. It's Daybridge is what I've kind of landed on for right now. I like its user interface. It doesn't have a widget. Really frustrating that it doesn't have a widget. So I'm trying to find another widget to like use in its stead, but like it's not nice.
Excuse
me. I
me.
mean, let me even put the Apple Calendar widget on my home screen right now. I just want to know.
Most decisions that Apple makes for like the user experience specifically, I think make sense. They are something that like I can see the reasoning behind it. Does not mean I have to agree with the decision, but I do see it. I get it. Like it's for a different kind of person. I am not their target market. That is very clear. But I have a different ideology, and I think both are rational and practical, but for different kinds of people, and it's allowed to frustrate me, and it's allowed to frustrate you.
Even Apple's calendar widget looks better than Google's, I think. I've sent it into the thought bubble.
I keep forgetting to unclick a screenshot in here. There we go.
Yeah, I think that is neater, cleaner. The dark mode looks nicer because it's actually dark instead of just like a blue, which is what Google's is. I don't know why the fuck they do that. Also, for all of y'all customization claims, why can't I just choose the fucking color I want the background to be on, like any widget? Any.
Should be.
And so I'm like starting to get disillusioned about the idea that Android is actually customizable. Like, sure, you can do a few more things with your home screen and everything else, but like it takes so much fucking effort that it isn't worth it in the end. You're gonna spend a week to make the background of a widget black when you could just fucking have it that way. Or some kind of gray, whatever. But it's like, why does it have to be blue? Why can't it just be a color that is going to fit with any background I choose? Why does it have to be blue?
Because you sound like you're talking about a Google built-in launcher with this, and I'm wondering, like, because installing new launchers is like something that's becoming easier over time, and I'm starting to wonder what's the actual, I don't know if we'll ever know the answer to this question, but what is the actual ratio of people with just stayed with the built-in launcher and people who added something like Nova Launcher, Niagara Launcher, etc.? You know, I would like to know what that is, because it's like with Nova Launcher, I feel like, because I haven't customized my home screen in a while, but I think that like there's more customization than you seem to be proclaiming from Google's own launcher. But it's also, you say it takes a week to put it where you want it to be, but it's also like, from my perspective, it takes, I don't know, maybe a few hours.
But you
fucking
do not
longest,
have
by the way.
the desire I do for which calendar widget I want to use.
Sure, but it takes like in general for apps across the whole thing, it takes about maybe 45 minutes, so that I rarely ever have to touch it again. It's for two different entire kinds of mindsets, and so I totally see how Apple would serve you better. I just also think, like I said, this is a failure of Android to be able to match that, even with third-party launchers, it sounds like. I just don't understand. I'm not a dev. I don't understand why this can't be adapted this way. Maybe it's because like I have a feeling it's because of like a general community pettiness towards like Apple anything, including the UI stuff. That's my little tiny conspiracy theory hat on, of like people just like they want to steer away from Apple as much as possible. So even the stuff that's actually functional and practical and pretty, they're like, no Apple, because I just don't like it ideologically. Which I understand, but it also hurts your experience. Like, it also makes it so that there's not going to be as many Android users tomorrow because Ashley, has every right to want the design features from Apple shit that has millions of people buying it for a reason, on Android. It should just be there. It should be built in, frankly, but if it's not, it should at least be in one of these world famous fucking third-party launchers. It should be in Nova. I should be able to do it right now in an hour.
Yeah.
At most.
I mean, I have Nova, and like there is, before anyone says anything, in Nova Launcher, if you hold on a widget, you can hit custom color. I have not gotten it to actually be the color I want for any of the widgets. When I hit black, it kind of just tints it a little grayer. If that, I can't tell the difference for some of these. And it's just, like I said, for the land of customization, the fact I can't make the background of the widget for an app whose background in app is black to be black, in fucking sane enough to make me so mad that we've been talking for an hour about it.
We're never gonna get to the fucking your last note, are we?
No. Right now, which app am I using right now? Is this, so I'm using Notion Calendar widget. It's apparently the one I've landed on. I still think it looks like shit. I don't think it has enough design of it. It looks like they wanted to be clean but didn't know what that meant. The background is this kind of like blue, dark bluish, but I click on an event, the app opens and it's black. Why is it not the same as the app? How is this? And none of the apps do this. None of the widgets do this. Unless you have light mode, of course, then it's white. But why is the dark mode not the same between the app and the widget for the app? I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like Android is full of psychopaths.
Oh, Jesus, Ashley, you need to be able to have a brake pedal somewhere.
No, that's crazy.
It's silly. It is, but it's like it is a problem that I have lots of widgets. It's a problem that I just very rarely have.
I'm sorry that your design language is not an issue for you, but when I click into Fantastical, the widget physically, the animation, it just kind of opens up into the app, same background. It's like I just jumped through a window to the app.
That is better. You are right.
And wait, how do I screen record on Android again? Where is that? Oh, I have no fucking clue. Where is the screen record start? No, do not record audio.
I don't even know how to do
Choose
that.
app to record. Can I not just record my fucking screen? What?
What?
Okay, no, I'm starting over.
We might just be talking about a byproduct of shitification for this episode.
Record entire screen. There we go. I'm just gonna swap between the widget and the app a couple of times, and I'm gonna upload this to the Discord.
I feel like this is gonna make you lose your mind more than like those fucking people who are still on the Zodiac Killer.
Oh, literally, like, look at this bullshit. I don't get it.
Do you have an icon pack? I did not think you'd be an icon pack girly.
I do, because YouTube doesn't have a default dark icon when I turned on dark mode.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Which is also crazy. Can we talk about
It's
that?
very, yeah. You know what? Just actually, I'm gonna mute my mic. You please go ahead.
Why? So iPhone has this. I hit dark mode icons, and it's dark mode icons, which I don't say before anyone says it. It just came out last year that this is a thing. Sure, in the land of customization, how is this not just a default thing? Like, Google makes the damn Pixel. Google makes fucking YouTube. They presumably make the icon for these. How is it that iPhone has the better Google app dark mode icon than the damn Google phone?
How much of your like losing your mind right now is a bit? I'm like almost like I'm within the neighborhood of approaching worried about you.
No, I'm fucking like it's a little bit of a bit. I'm having fun with it. But it's mostly just like, how the fuck did this happen? How is this a thing in the world that I turn on dark mode on my Google phone and the Google apps don't have a dark mode icon, but I turn on dark mode in my iPhone and all of the Google apps have a dark mode icon? They made it. They have it. They could put it on the Google Pixel, but they don't.
It's bullshit. I think we're gonna loop back around to this is a problem with capitalism yet again, folks, because this sounds just like enshittification.
This is just, they don't care. They were given a mandate by Apple to be like, hey, put on dark mode icons because we're adding this to our design language. And Google's like, okay, got it. Google's on board. Why would they not give that option to the Pixel? Like, let me go into. Oh God, how the fuck do I get to anything on this goddamn phone? There we go. I'm going back to the Pixel launcher.
I also don't know if I would use a Pixel. If I like, I don't know specifically what I would look forward to from using a Pixel. Like that I don't already have on my OnePlus. Because like when it comes to switching between Android phone, I see switching out like away from Samsung. That seems like a top priority because like at least all the ads. But yeah, there's a few Samsung problems that are very valid. Though isn't there like a fucking I think there's a Samsung that comes with like a Wacom stylus, and I think that's fucking awesome. But yeah, no, I don't know all of the problems with Google Pixel phones. I only know that I used to have a Samsung and now I'm on a OnePlus, and it seems to suit me. Yeah.
So I just posted on on the Pixel launcher the home screen in dark mode that I have. All of these app icons have not changed. Also, why do I need to have the fucking names of the apps under the apps on my home screen? I know what the fuck they are. Okay, that's a Nova launcher fix. It's fine. Android does have a solution to this. Weird that it's not in the Pixel launcher, but it has a solution. Wait, it gets my blood boiling.
Wait. There's a distinction I want to make. How do you feel about like app names under the icons in like the app drawer rather than on the home screen?
App drawer, basically necessary because you're going to have a lot of apps you rarely use, and you're not going to remember each individual icon for those.
Yeah, because like,
in my opinion. But on your home screen, I know what YouTube look like. I know it look YouTube. I know YouTube.
There's a certain level of extremism here that I'm like, I just don't think I have any.
Also,
just
they do know this. They do know that this is a thing, that people don't need the text below the icons. Do you know how I know this?
I like it.
No, do you know how I know this? That's not the question I asked.
Okay, what is it, Ashley?
Because in the doc, they removed them. In this one screenshot, Discord does not have Discord below its name. And I know what it is, and they know I know what it is. But YouTube, just an inch above, does have it. And there's no option to get rid of it. Like I said, if there was an option, fucking fine. Give me the option. iPhone has this option by default.
So, as someone who uses predominantly widgets and app folders on their home screen, to where I just generally include more things on my home screen within folders than you do, and so for me, it is a genuine utility to have labels on things because, like, a bunch of these, sure, if I had to, like, if you took off the labels, it's not like I would have no idea what I'm doing. But there's a bunch where it's like, oh yeah, what was that one again? Because there's just a lot
I'm
more
not
here. There's
saying
pages of
that
these
you
folders.
have to get rid of them,
Right.
but
There
why
is
is it not a
utility.
built-in option to turn them
Right.
off? I don't
It
need
should
my
be.
home screen to speak words at me. I know my
Yes.
icons. I know my home
Yes.
screen. Most of the time, I barely even look at my home screen if I'm swapping apps fast enough because I have the muscle memory of where I'm going. So I don't
I have a
need
feeling-
it. It's clutter for no reason for me.
I have a feeling that there's someone who, like, around now tuned back in after tuning out and wondering if I'm still on the rant about it.
I am.
And
I need to
deserving,
swap
right?
my Pixel launcher back. Okay, my launcher is now Nova. Also, to get my home screen to act the way I want from iPhone, one of my favorite things of iPhone is you swipe down on the home screen, brings up your keyboard, and you can type for whatever app or anything you want. If you just want to search something, you can just search it from there. I love that utility. And there is a way to get Nova Launcher to do it. So I swipe down and my app drawer comes up, and I don't know how to explain it in a way that's going to make it look as bad or sound as bad as it looks to me. Because
Okay.
I swipe down, the app drawer comes up, and then half a second later, the search bar shoots from the bottom of the screen to the top, and then my keyboard opens. And it's fast, it's usable, it's whatever, but it's not elegant. And it's like, how
Okay.
long has Nova Launcher existed with this option to do this and have not made an elegant looking version of it?
It'd be kind of funny if, like, we're talking about customization and you're talking about like a fluid UI movement feature, and I'm I'm thinking, like, what if in the Nova Launcher settings or just Android in general, there was like a animate your own fluid movement between functions. Do it yourself, bitch. Like,
I would.
That'd
I
be
know
fun.
I would. Like,
I would try it. Yeah.
it's such a weird. I'm gonna try to screen record it because maybe
God, now I actually really want that. I want record your own, like, or an animate your own movement for shit. God, because, like, okay, wait. I'm gonna go on just a tiny thing here. So, in my home screen, I don't want to put in a screenshot for my fucking home screen. I don't want to do that. But on my home screen, the folders that I have, it's in the arrangement where, like, okay, the boundary of the folders is like one of those squircle thing, like, it's one of those rounded corner squares, and then, like, until you click on the tap on the folder, the little preview is an arrangement of, like, the first handful of apps in there that are as if they're all the corner positions on a pentagon, if you understand me. So it's like a 5-point circle, with, like, a point at the top, of app icons. It'd be really cool if I could, like, animate my home screen so that if I tap on it, that pentagon spirals out into the whole view that I then use as normal. I think that'd be fucking awesome. I think that'd be a great feature because that'd just be cute and nice and fluid. It's still fluid and fast, but just fun and look pretty. Yeah.
I've put in a recording of me swiping. Oh, it looks even worse with the low frame rate of the screen recording. Oh my god.
Oh god. Oh no,
Like-
but I see what you mean. It's jerky. Yeah. No, I see
it's
that.
not elegant and not. I want to say, so this is. I had to set it when I swipe down. It does this, but this is also just what happens if you swipe up normally without changing any settings. That's just how it looks.
Hold on. You mean even if you're swiping up?
Yeah, when I swipe up to get to my app drawer and it opens my keyboard, that's what happens. I don't know if I
It's
set it to
equally
open my
jerky.
keyboard. It's this in that video. I swiped up twice and down twice, and I'm not going to tell you which one's which because it's the same.
Cause like that makes me feel like there's a setting that you don't remember that you toggle. I feel like uproar in tester is if this was just how it worked. Wait, I have the Nova launcher. Why am I not testing this? Because like, oh, it does. Okay, my thing I think is that I don't have it automatically bring up my keyboard. When I go into my app drawer, I swipe up, and then okay, my arrangement is that on my home screen, just below my taskbar equivalent of like the 5 apps that I expect to use often, like at the very bottom, right above the gesture bar, is a search bar with like some weather and shit in there too, whatever. And that searches like the web, or it searches my apps or settings, you name it. If I swipe up to bring up my app drawer, that same search bar, just without, the weather and date on the right, but the same search bar is at the top. And so if I then tap on that, it brings up a keyboard and all the other stuff that you'd expect from a search environment. But it does not automatically bring up the keyboard, because that's just not what I want it to do. So I wonder.
So I have now changed it to where.
Yeah.
I had to change it to where that was at the top. The search bar was at the top, and now it doesn't shoot up from the bottom after the app drawers come up. So that has solved that problem.
Okay.
Now my problem is the keyboard's a little slow to come up. I don't know if that is as much Nova Launcher or just an Android issue. I wish it was a little bit faster, but that is...
Mine's pretty snappy.
That is more... Well, see, you're pretty snappy and my pretty snappy are going to be definitely different. I imagine we're seeing the same thing right now, and I'm not satisfied that you are. But
okay, that's fair.
That might be a thing where I have to go into like the Android like secret settings and just turn up the animation speed on things, because I'm sure I can. Also weird that I have to go into like the secret settings to do that, but also fair to anybody who's about to say, oh, but on iPhone, all of the coolest settings are in accessibility. Okay, yeah, whatever. Fair enough.
Yeah. Accessibility settings is just more useful than people make it out to be. I don't know if I brought it up on here before, but like back in the day when like my headphones did like the thing where they're louder in one ear than the other. I had broken headphones at the time. And like I went into the accessibility settings because it had a little dial for like, which ear would be louder in, because effectively, I mean, like it was closer to a disabled experience at that point, just within my headphones and not my entire fucking life. But yeah, but also just like look through, just as a general thing, folks, with your devices, if they have accessibility settings, look around in there. You might just find something that's like quality of life for you now. You might like it. Yeah. Maybe high contrast. Plenty of people like that who don't even really need it.
So, in the specific Android talk, I'm going to talk about a thing I do like that iPhone doesn't have.
Okay.
When I press and hold on, let's say YouTube, I'm going to bring my YouTube app out onto my home screen. Because the YouTube app I have isn't actually the app; it's a shortcut. So I long press on it, and it says, oh, hey, here's the shortcut. And I can grab it and turn it into an app on my home screen. And I really love that. I love it because then instead of going to the YouTube homepage, I'm going straight to my subscriptions, which is much more what I want to have happen. And
I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea that was
on iPhone. There is the Shortcuts app. It's not as elegant. It should be. But I think like Shortcuts is relatively newer as well, so I can imagine that's going to get better as time goes on. Icon packs obviously are going to be a big plus for Android. iPhone just doesn't really have them. You can, through Shortcuts, you can make a shortcut that links to sorry, I got distracted by a message in the Discord server.
No problem.
In Shortcuts, you can make a shortcut that opens an app. And I think I made it so I could even have a shortcut that opens YouTube to the subscriptions page. Or no, I wanted to test out watching shorts instead of going to TikTok. So I made a shortcut that goes to shorts on YouTube. and then I could make any icon image for that shortcut. I can just upload any image I want, which kind of a little bit better than Android is about it at times, but because like to do that you'd have to have Nova Launcher. But yeah, so I made a shortcut. It would open up Shorts. I think I ended up not using it a lot because then when I hit the regular YouTube app button, it doesn't take me to the home screen again. It just opens back up to where it was, which is Shorts, and I don't want that. And I wasn't going to go through the pain of making a ton of shortcuts for everything. But theoretically, if you wanted to make your own icon pack, you can do it through shortcuts. It's a hassle. I wouldn't suggest it. I think it's just as much of a waste of time as me making my own calendar widget. So
right.
Just as frustrating.
Just as like I want to stay on the topic of icon packs because I haven't said this in a while. Because I remember I had like back in like when I was participating in like Google Opinion Rewards, I had like a little small handful of change from that on my Google account, and so I went around looking for icon packs because I'm like, this is not enough to pay for a movie play. It's so and it's gonna expire before that long. And so, what can I get with this that I give any shit about? And I was looking through icon packs. I got a couple. One of them I rarely use, but it is kind of sleek and elegant. It puts icons, this felt very weird at the time, but it puts icons in like a landscape video kind of aspect ratio. It's not a joke. Apparently some people like swear by that, especially because like you can make it like more compact then and fit more on one screen, and that's whatever. If you want that, I think it's sometimes fun. The one that I've defaulted to, because you know how much I love my tones, is I found a really good tone icon pack that it's not like obtrusively stylistic. It's not like it gets in the way. I think it's Olympia icons, I think it's called. Olympia icon pack. I don't know why it's called that. It has like what I assume is an image of maybe a princess's face on the front, but in the same style as the icon pack. I really don't understand why, but it is adapted to most of my icons, and the ones where this is a good feature of Nova is that for certain icon packs it will try and there's a tick box you can tick for having it emulate the style of that for apps that aren't designed for that icon pack. So for instance, with the landscape one, it'll try and just like a little like crop down the icon of like whatever app isn't supported, and most of the time I found that works surprisingly well. The way that I got it to adapt well to everything feeling right with that icon pack in Nova is having most things as a rounded square, not quite as a circle, which you could argue would objectively work better for these rounded bouncy purposes. But I liked the idea of it keeping it grounded in what I'm already used to an icon being, which is defaulting to, if it has a background, it's a square, and so it's still kind of keeping that suggestion visually while keeping it trimmed off, rounded, and so it more feels like a Looney Tunes back in action, like live action and cartoon sort of mix, but with my apps. Maybe this isn't at all important to you folks, but this is something that really makes it like feel like it's for me, my interface, and it does not get in the way by any stretch. And it just auto applies. I don't know if this is, well, it probably is, but it auto applies them to new apps that are compatible. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, one thing I definitely missed from Android is app icons that don't have a background. Because every single icon is like this square with rounded edges on iOS, which I mean, it looks nice, it's fine, and I mean, it does make it so that each app has a cohesive design language, so they all look nice together. But you can get that without that. Lux is very nice, LUX, very good dark mode kind of pack where you don't have to have that background. It's just the icons, because like I don't need a circle around Discord to tell that it's Discord.
I'm looking for Lux now. Oh, I've looked at this before. I think I almost installed this. Yeah,
I think it's basically like the first one that comes up if you look up a dark icon pack.
I think so. Okay, I'm gonna sound super weird on this one. I fully understand that it's gonna sound odd, especially based on what I just said for a specific design language. Um, but I think the thing that put me off of Lux, and this is completely and totally subjective. I think it's a beautiful icon pack, but for me, it feels a little too much like all of the apps came from the same place, where then if I go into the app, it clearly doesn't look like they all come from the same place. Because what I'm used to with the Lux level of cohesion, is like, oh, the Google apps seem to all come from the same place, and Google has their design language, so that kind of just fits. But with the Toon one, it's like you can kind of tell that it's a thing that, and not this is not in an ugly way or in any way that looks glaring, but it's like, oh, you can tell that another thing that was not from here was, this adapted to it. This was a style put on top of a thing that wasn't initially meant for it, which sounds like it doesn't work, but I promise you it works very well. And it's just two different kind of viewpoints on it. But yeah, no, I love that Lux exists. I just think that it gives false promises for the rest of the entire operating system is my only issue. Yeah.
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 That mostly does it for my issues going back to Android for now. We'll see where I am a week from now when I'm on the new Google phone, and I don't know if it's really going to change much, but we'll see if it does. One thing that is, I'm going to end on one last thing I like on the iPhone more. MagSafe. Why the fuck has no Android phone been made with a MagSafe equivalent?
There has to be a patent or something. It's that's the only thing I could really imagine.
I don't think you can necessarily just patent a circle of metal. I also think there's the MagSafe standard. There is Qi 2, which is just a MagSafe competitor format. It isn't MagSafe. It is different. There are some rumors that they're going to start putting this into new Android phones, but we haven't heard official reports of that. When did Qi 2 announced 2023, expected to see adoption 2025, so maybe this is going to be the year. But it's crazy that it's taken this long for such an amazing and I think fundamental feature for me now, because I don't like putting a case on my phone. So if I wanted, and I bought a pink Google Pixel, so I'm going to use it bare. I'm not going to put a case on it. So now I have to make the decision of if I want to add on one of those stick-on replacements for MagSafe onto the back of it and make it look a little worse when I don't have anything on it, but whatever. Or if I'm just not going to use any of my MagSafe compatible things, which would suck. I love MagSafe. The fact that I pop my pop socket off to use my wireless charging, or to put it on my car's dashboard with a magnetic mount so I could use it for navigation or whatever. Very nice. And I have a MagSafe wireless charger as well that I just plop it on there, and so I'm not using the port, I'm charging through wireless, but I still have full use of my phone. It's not just on a pad, so I can still hold it and use it and whatever, put it wherever I want while it's magnetically charging. And it's nice stuff. I mean, magnetic wallet backs as well. I mean, I'm not going to be a user of that, I think, but
why?
I don't want, if I have one thing in my pocket and somebody steals the one thing in my pocket, I don't want it to be my phone and my wallet. Like, I kind of want those separate, so like if something gets stolen, it's not both.
Because like you definitely feel like the person where it's like, oh, if I could remove even the slightest second of grabbing, having to pick between what I'm grabbing, and also, you know what? Don't even have to open my wallet. I just get to tap it on shit. Like this removes microseconds from my day. This makes
well,
it a
the
more
thing is,
cohesive,
most
intuitive
places do
experience.
take tap through
Yeah.
iPhone, so I
Yeah.
also don't have to take my wallet out. But there's also certain things that if I could put everything onto my phone as like a digital backup, like my license, my health insurance card, my payment cards are already on there. But things like that, my Metro Pass, which most do. But I would do that, and I would probably just not carry around my wallet. But I wouldn't want my actual physical wallet to be attached to my phone for the reason of if it gets lost, if it gets taken. That's a lot more to replace and to figure out.
Do you think there's people who like cross the border with like and this is not, I'm not talking about like I'm talking about like an intended situation. Do you think there's people who cross the border and like have their passport photocopied on like a fucking PNG on their phone and they just show that? I don't think that works.
They would get turned away for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so, because that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any digital equivalents to the passport yet.
There probably shouldn't be at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't
don't know
trust
enough
companies.
about different passport shit, but I mean, if I could put my driver's license on my phone, which some states will let you do, I just don't live in one of those. God, I would love that.
Are you moving to one of those?
No, sadly,
Okay.
and I don't even think they have plans to yet, which sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some states that let you do it. There's some states that like this year are having like hearings about it and seeing if they want to go through with it. And my states are on neither of these lists.
Ma'am, put your phone down and exit vehicle.
That's more funny if that wasn't just how
I
cops
hope
are.
Yeah.
They wouldn't call it a phone, they'd call it a weapon.
Right. If I throw my phone at you, yeah.
But yeah, so like MagSafe, big thing for me. I'm probably gonna end up getting one of those rings that you just put on the back of your phone to make it MagSafe compatible. Mainly for like changing out the pop socket use. I really like taking my pop sockets off of my phone to have to use it somewhere else. Like if I wanted to put it on my dash, like I said. Huge thing for me.
This might have been your angriest episode of Thought Bubble.
Probably.
Yeah.
I have a headache now, for sure.
Yeah. Like it's rare that I feel tired at the end of an episode. I just feel like usually either chill or excited. But it's like, yeah, this was a lot. I'm glad you got it off your chest though. I'm glad we have record of it.
Well, we'll do another topic that's
Sure.
lighter, happier. And that is I've started using the Zen Browser.
Right.
So for those that don't know, Zen
I
Browser,
thought this would be too big for right now.
no, if you look at Arc, if you remember me talking about Arc, and it has the vertical tab stacking, and all of that kind of niceness. The pinned tabs kind of act like apps instead. Really loved Arc. Zen is just Arc if the Arc developers didn't give up. It's continuing. It's a lot of like community based as well, so a lot of things that are issues in it, because it is so customizable. You can just write CSS code for Zen Browser and just plonk it in. Somebody will just put like in the Discord like, hey, I have this issue, and then like the same day someone is like, oh yeah, here, try this CSS code, and it just fixes it. And then if it's a popular kind of enough fix or an important enough fix, the people that make Zen might just put it into the actual browser, instead of you having to like, oh, everybody who has this issue has to go get the CSS. It's like, no, we'll just bake it into the browser. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
I remember a problem with Arc was Now, I never got into CSS customizations, but I remember people talked about. Sorry, I tried to make sure that the fucking mic stand squeak was not was not audible. That's my pause. But I I remember that like people said, "Oh, every time an update comes out, it kind of fucks up every CSS customization." So do you have to have like a log on hand of stuff to like put back in once it updates, or does it just cooperate? Like, whoa, how does that work?
I mean, I've only been using it for this past week, so
Mm-hmm.
I've not hit that. I don't know. From what I've kind of heard, things just end up working unless they put in some other code that breaks a specific CSS. But usually they end up trying to work with the community more to make sure that things aren't going to break when they do an update, at least not too bad. And I mean, let's talk about level of customization, which I do have an issue with for Zen, but I'm sure I could CSS it away, but it's not that big of an issue. I watched a video. This isn't a thing I've come across, but I was watching a video of somebody talking about switching to Zen Browser, and on the tab layout, there would be a little green dot if there was an update in that tab, like you got a notification or something. And that is alongside the like URL whatever tab thing that will just say 1 for most Windows that have an update. It'll be like, oh, here's an update, here's 2, you have 2 updates you haven't looked at. So it's like 2 kind of showings of, hey, you have an update, which this dude didn't like, and he's like, oh, how do I get rid of this? And the people in the Discord just immediately was just like, oh yeah, you can just go into the about.config and just change the color of it to the background, and it just makes it invisible. And he's just like, oh yeah, I can just go into the config file and just change whatever the fuck I want about this browser.
Right. So the config file, okay. When I was a kid playing indie games, like on my laptop back in the day, part of like how I had fun with it was like I would look into the files, and like there was a bunch of shit I wouldn't understand, but like there were certain, like either like there were certain files where you could had, and it would have like, if the developers wanted you to do this, had like an intuitive kind of like, oh, here's the values for this stuff, here's generally what it means. Sometimes you'd have to figure out a thing or two, but like, then you could save it, close it, and then fire back up the game, and maybe you could cheat at it if you wanted to. I don't recommend doing that with multiplayer games. I always did it with single player, and I do condone that if it's something you want. But back on Zen, is it just a thing where it's like it's a list of shit that like that's cohesive and like understandable to look at?
I would say for a lot of the more intensive things you're going to want to do, you're going to want to know kind of how a browser is put together and have a little bit more documentation about it. But it seems from what I've looked at and heard that the community is really good around this browser, so you could just go into the Discord and ask, and there's probably going to be somebody be like, oh yeah, no, to get that you got to go to browser.display.background_color and change the hex code, and not the easiest thing, not super simple. It's not just like a settings menu, but like I said, with a little bit of help and a little bit of know-how, you'll probably figure out how to change what you want.
I like the idea of Zen. I'm tossing in my head whether I think it's like, oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful browser, but it's not for someone like me. And I'm thinking of testing it for maybe like a week, but always having Vivaldi on hand because this will be my safety net, But because like I've grown kind of spoiled by the little panel stuff, in terms of our built-in RSS feeds and email and all the other shit that's in Vivaldi, and I've like made it part of the flow. And there's certain parts of it where it's like it's changed how I use certain websites, like for instance with the RSS feeds built into the same app's interface. I use my subscriptions basically not at all on YouTube anymore, because the way I want it to function is, I don't know if I said this when I was actually first switching, I wanted to on the podcast, but I don't like YouTube's subscriptions interface. I like the function, I don't like the interface. And secondly, I'm subscribed to too many channels because I've had this account for a long time. I'm subscribed to too many channels to clean through it and see which ones I still want to subscribe to, that would just be too much. And so I'm essentially starting over that whole thing with just RSS feeds of them, and I like that interface better anyway. But with all of the, I'm assuming that for a lot of this stuff, maybe not all of it, but still, there are CSS plugins and customizations and add-ons that you can make it at least closer to Vivaldi than I would think it would be. But also going from like a base, more like less intimidating, more cohesive, more intuitive experience, because that was the beautiful thing about Arc, that it had all of that. Despite not having much of a settings menu, and it sounds like Zen has the same problem, but it's improving on this regard. I guess I'm just gonna want to see if it's like, if I can put the CSS in there and more or less set it and forget it, as I then just use a pretty browser. I'm very willing to test that out. I might do that for the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, I would highly suggest it, considering how much we both liked Arc at the end of the day. We did really like it while it was good. It's no longer good, sadly. But I mean, Zen is just a better Arc. I would say you're probably gonna miss some things about Vivaldi if you've really been using a lot of its special features. But I mean, I basically have this set up how I had my Arc. I didn't think I would like. They make a difference between pin tabs and like the big button kind of app tabs that like Arc had. Like if you pinned a tab in Arc, it was a big button that wanted to be treated like an app. They make a difference. There's Essentials, which is that it's the equivalent of Arc pins, where it's a little button that is treated like an app.
And then they just actually have bookmarks you can tuck into the background.
Yeah. So right now here, I'm gonna.
Because one thing I didn't like about Arc is that you like all of the bookmark features were, you know, pinned tabs and folders, which worked great if you wanted to flow with that. But it's also like you couldn't just tuck something away that you'd rarely use but would come in handy every so often into just the bookmarks that you know open when you need them and are just a much bigger closet of shit, you know, because there's utility to that.
Couple different screenshots.
And it's two different things. That is beautiful. Though I do remember there was like, this still looks similar to Arc with that, because I remember there were two different, weren't there?
You could. It's here's the difference, because I haven't sent you the other picture yet. So
okay.
You have pinned tabs, which are different from bookmarks. So in this first image from top down, you have on the side panel where all of your tabs are, the tab bar, you have the URL, and then my essential tabs, which, like I said, are like the apps. And then you have pinned tabs, which are, in the way that I'm going to use them, is like temporary things that I want to have right there. Like in the picture I've sent, it has my FedEx tracking number for the phone that I'm getting. So I'm going to have that there for just a couple days, and then I'll get rid of it. And then in the second picture, it doesn't show it. I've gotten rid of it because I don't really use bookmarks like this. But it's the very top. If I hover my mouse over the very top of Zen, it pushes down. There's this little bar it's also the grab bar, but you can put your bookmarks there as well, I believe. So you can have bookmarks, pin tabs, and essential. Yeah, there is.
Okay. Because that's how I prefer. I don't like having a bookmarks bar personally. The way that I currently like, Arc got me used to the pinned, like the pinned tabs that function that same way, and the what act as essentials that were the little buttons at the top. Like Arc got me used to that whole system where it was actually hard to sacrifice the buttons at the top. But I was able to incorporate the same pinned tabs arrangement or similar from Arc in Vivaldi, where I just use stack tabs for that in there.
Yeah, so what I just did on the very bottom of the tab bar, there are just extra buttons. So like I have my settings button and my download button. I can just put a bookmarks button down there, and I think I could put it wherever the fuck I kind of want. If I didn't want it at the bottom, I could put it at the top. But yeah, you can do that, or you could just have a bookmarks bar across the top. There's a lot of little changes there you can make.
Yeah, as someone who takes comfort in a certain variety of crowded environment with my browser, like I have stuff on all four of the borders, but they're thin borders, and it's just thick enough that it's the stuff is just big enough that I understand what it is. It's not in the way, but it's encasing my internet experience. Um, and despite that fact, I can't stand bookmark bars. I don't know why. I really, really don't like them. I think it's part of the reason that I like dashboards so much, because that's just a thing that's sometimes it's a thing that I think belongs in a new tab page. And so that is essentially what I've made my Vivaldi dashboard into, with its different tabs as well. And yeah, folks listening, yes, I absolutely haven't overcomplicated it, just the way I like it. But does actually, yeah, does Arc have much in the way of a new tab page? Because I have like a whole interface for that too on Vivaldi.
I don't use it. I have it set where it just pulls up a search bar. I think there is a way. I don't use it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I had to go out of my way to set it up that it just pops up. So that makes me presume there is a new tab page.
Yeah, I mean, I trust that. But yeah, I'll definitely give it a shot. As long as, oh, wait, when you installed it, did it fucking insist on being on the C drive, or can I put it on D?
I don't remember. I put it on C. I think you could change it.
Yeah, because you're how angry you got about the calendar app widget shit in the beginning of the episode is how mad I get about how it's like everything insists and needs to be on the C drive with no option to install it anywhere else. Just through the standard installation process, because everything needs to be as few clicks as possible. Didn't realize that beginning on this soapbox, but it's like if I want shit on my D drive, maybe there's a reason I don't want it on my C drive. Plenty of people have that reason. Let us put shit on the fucking D drive or E drive or G drive or whatever the fuck you have. Sometimes I just need it not to be on C. That's not rare, that's not weird, and that has real utility for your computer. So just, yeah, it's, as long as I can move Zen to my, or maybe it rarely has to touch my C drive. If I could just put it on my whatever other drive. Yes.
Can't. I'm trying to figure out if it has a new tab. Because somebody, like, people are talking about it, but I can't find it. If I go into settings and just hit new tab. Oh, you can just set where you want it to go. Custom URL, blank page. But I mean, I also have it set to not open up a new tab, so I don't know what its default looks like. But some people are talking about, there's some people, I think I saw an extension or a Zen mod, not even an extension. So Zen mods are different from extensions. So the Zen browser is built on top of Firefox. And so it has all the Firefox extensions available to it. But it also has Zen mods, which are much more like mods like a video game, to where you can change a fundamental thing. I have a few installed. Let me look at which ones I have. Settings and mods. So
Yeah,
I have one that if a tab is playing music, it has a little like audio bars kind of thing. So I could at a glance see where the audio is coming from instead of looking for like a little speaker indicator. I have one that whatever active tab I'm using, usually it just gives it a little kind of pale outline, but whenever I installed this, it wasn't as obvious to me which one I was using for the tabs, so I have a little bright line on the side of the tab that I'm using. Let's see. Oh, I have one that when I make a tab hibernate, it is much more clear than normal because it's not very clear by default, but this one like turns it gray and kind of fades it out. I think this browser is like not very old. I think it's like a year or two old.
Yeah, that's what I heard anyway. I think what steered me away from Zen Browser largely is, well, firstly that I committed so much to Vivaldi, like you know, but also because it's like I think because it's so clearly based on Arc, and I did not leave Arc by like my choice to love Arc was not based on I found another browser I already want to leap to. It was this browser is abandoning me and all of the portion of the user base that I belong to, which is Windows users in general, but I don't know if they've dropped Mac users off either. Like, because I know that
I've heard, they basically have
Yeah.
stopped work on Arc at this point.
Yeah, it's like so they essentially abandoned their user base, Windows first and then Mac, because like apparently they were longer lasting and always better on Mac. But yeah, because it feels so Arc just aesthetically, I think that steered me away from it. But it definitely deserves a better shot than that. And I think there's a tremendous amount of merit to a browser that is just by default you set things up in a simpler, more elegant, more pretty environment instead of having to, like I said, take a fucking hour, even if it is mostly set it and forget it. You know, it's two different very useful kinds of browsers, and I want to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. I love it. Also, I don't remember if this was a thing in like Arc or whatever, or even Vivaldi, but if I want one of my essential tabs to be hibernated, I don't have to right click and hit hibernate tab. I middle click and it just turns it the fuck off.
I don't
And I
like middle
really
clicking
like
anything,
that.
but I like that works.
I really like if I'm just like, oh yeah, I wanted Notion, my calendar, and like my RSS feed up because I'm like taking notes, putting things into the calendar, whatever. And then it's like, oh, I don't really need these 3 tabs right now. Just boom, 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 closed, gone.
Yeah. What I usually do is I like to have middle click for closing a tab. That's something that I've relied upon a lot. But what I use more often these days, because like I have a pretty consistent browsing pattern, is I will just right click a lot of stuff and then go down to like, I can see how this is too much for anybody, because firstly, it's a step you don't need, sure. Secondly, massive right click menu in Vivaldi, and so it's right there. If you know where it is, it's a very quick little click over. But yeah, I right click and then go to hibernate tab or hibernate tab stack. Oh yes, because Vivaldi has that. If you have groups of stuff in a tab stack and you're outside of that stack, you have to be away from a tab to do this. But like, if you can right click on a whole tab stack and hibernate the whole damn thing. That's what I've used ever since I've installed it once doing this this show. Like I have right now 3 panels separated. In the middle is the stream, on the left is the notes, on the right is the search, and that's in a tab stack that then when I am leaving this profile, I hibernate it. And you know, I can fire it all back up again at once to start the next episode, and yeah, that's beautiful. And maybe Zen has that, but
Yeah,
love
in
it. I love
my pin tabs is a split tab of my notes and the YouTube page for streaming.
Yeah.
If on a pin tab, if you middle click as well, not just the essentials, it'll also hibernate it. But if you middle click on just a regular tab, it closes it. So it kind of knows like, oh, you don't really want to hibernate this one unless you specifically want to. So it does change based on its context.
Under what circumstances it hibernates it? Under what circumstance it closes it?
If it's just a regular tab, not pinned, not essential, it'll close it. If it's a pinned or an essential tab, it'll hibernate it.
Okay, you have completely saved that idea for me. I misunderstood, and that is perfection. I'm fully on board with that. I don't let me test that out with a pin tab I have in another profile here. Because I just don't know about that on Vivaldi. Okay, I think it does do the same thing in Vivaldi. So I'm switching over, and so I just my blue deck tab, it is open now in my pinned tabs, and middle click. What do? Hibernate. Yeah. Okay, so it already does that, so I'll get to keep that feature and explore other stuff. Yeah.
Oh, my Vivaldi does not middle click to hibernate at all.
That might be in the settings. I'm sure that I ticked that somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Might be in tabs.
I also
Yeah.
like that I can just fill up my entire screen with just the web page. You remember when I was in Vivaldi, I was like, how the fuck do I get rid of all of this? And now I have the most elegant solution that I could ask for with Zen Browser, where not only are my tabs on the left, but the URL is in that tab bar, the back and refresh buttons are on the taskbar, so I don't have to have a huge line going across the top of my screen.
I remember when you were showing me this off air, I remember that I'm like, wait, have you essentially made it so that it's a floating window that just looks like a cutout with the website in it, and it doesn't have literally any. And
Yeah.
you were like, and yeah, you confirmed it. And I still think that was a cute trick, and I'm not positive that I'll have real use for that, but I really, really like that exists. I am starting to think that actually, wait, pause that. I think that if I'm working on stuff and let's say I only have mynoise.net opened, because you know that I like interfaces that make me feel like, a website is its own app.
Yeah.
I like when it makes it feel like an operating system in that way. That is probably the biggest case of something like that. That was the benefit that Arc had, where it's like you get to hide everything except the top bar that says what it is and has the very, very, very basic stuff. And that made it look like YouTube was its own app, or fucking like Twitch was its own tab, its own app. Gmail was its own app, whatever. And yeah, maybe I would do it with my noise. Maybe I'd do it with, I don't know, some fucking like one of those anything that I just want in the background as its own thing and not want to have distractions that can peel me away from shit. There's some real uses here.
So let me do. Oh my gosh, Vivaldi, I get it. One of my things updated. Fuck off. One of the things I noticed with Vivaldi, so I'm just going to open up a Twitch stream in the background here, have it playing, and it's like, oh, well, I kind of want to go back to just Twitch. In Arc, the way I would do that is I would double click the pinned tab, and it would just refresh it back to my following. And it would get rid of whatever stream I'm watching. Now, I don't have that in Vivaldi, so I have to click following, which then turns whatever stream I was watching into a mini player that I have to click out of. Zen has what Arc did to where if I just double click an Essential tab, it just fully reloads the page to where it is by default. So I don't have to click out a mini player or anything.
Well, actually, one thing related to that I'm curious about with Zen is with the pinned tabs in Arc, one feature, you might be talking more or less about this, but because what I like to do, let's say with something that we all use, YouTube, if I was in that YouTube homepage, like pinned tab, and I navigated to a video, or a playlist of some kind, it was just not the main homepage, not what I had pinned. If I click not on the title of the tab, but on the icon, the YouTube icon for the tab, then that would put it back to where the actual pinned part of the website was. So if it was like, if I had it as my subscription feed, then no matter where I navigated to, if I clicked the YouTube icon in that tab, it would bring me back to the pinned subscriptions feed.
Yes, that is what I'm talking about.
That is what you're talking about. Okay, I misunderstood that.
And Vivaldi does not do that.
Yeah, no, Vivaldi doesn't do that. I'll fully concede that.
And I really miss that. That was a good feature, because a thing I do a lot of the times, I'll just go to Twitch and just start playing whatever, just stream, just say hi, and then I'll bounce. And to do that in Vivaldi, to get back to just my following page, because I just like having it open, I have to hit following, then close out of the mini player of this Twitch stream, where if I just could refresh it back to the following page, I wouldn't have to then deal with this mini player.
Yeah, one fallback of Vivaldi that I've noticed is because it's really weird that people have requested up and down the same sidebar tab, the sidebar tabs, like, show it when you're hovering over it, don't show it when you're not hovering over it. Um, and Vivaldi has now that feature. Microsoft fucking Edge has that feature. It's not as smooth as an Arc or Zen, but like it has it. Vivaldi doesn't have that. The way that I've gotten as close as comfortable to it is I've resized the sidebar enough that all that I see is icons and absolutely no titles. So for my interface, the way that I've compromised, clicking on the icon to get it back to the original page is just like, that's not something that would work in this version, because that would mean if I navigated anywhere and then had to come back to the tab from another one, then that would just go back to the initial state of it, and that would get in the way. If you want to make it so that you can double click on a tab and get it back to like a pinned state, there might be a way that you can program that into it. It does have little like macro features in Vivaldi that I haven't fucking touched, but people have done a lot with those. You might be able to find that.
Yeah, I have no reason to go back to Vivaldi over Zen right now.
Okay.
There is no feature of Vivaldi that I used that Zen does not make up for in some other way. Because really, all I do with it is go to a few different websites pretty frequently and Google shit. That's all I use my browsers for.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need a built-in RSS feed into my browser. I don't need any of the extra stuff Vivaldi does. So Zen is kind of my way for now. We'll see. I mean, I've tried out
All right.
5 different browsers in this last month, so.
I'm glad that we've been doing browser hopping. This is good shit. This is beautiful.
But I now have to use the restroom, so it's the end
Yeah,
of the
and I'm
stream
getting
now.
tired. Yeah.
Do you have anything you'd like to end on with regards to either iPhones, Androids, or browsers?
improvvr.co.uk. I don't know if you just ended it or not, or if you